Hello everyone. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that affects us all, healthy skin aging. I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Andy and Dr. Andrew.
Hi everyone.
They are NHS GPs and founders of Dr. Andy and Dr. Andrew. They're a GP-led clinic focused on aesthetic medicine, skin health and longevity. So do you want to say a little bit about what you guys do?
Yeah, so our kind of ethos is evidence-based ways to really improve people's skin, but actually focusing on their skin health. And as a result of that usually results in healthier skin and better kind of cosmetic satisfaction from patients. And we try and incorporate kind of lifestyle interventions as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we do all that in Manchester.
Perfect. So today we'll be discussing what actually happens to our skin as we age, the role of ingredients, why SPF is so important, and how science-led skincare can help support healthy and skin confidence over time. Let's start with the basics. We hear the term anti-aging all the time, but before we talk about products and routines, let's understand what actually happens to our skin and what happens when we age. So let's go beneath the surface. When we talk skin aging, what's actually happening?
Yeah, so it's quite a broad term. So I like to kind of split it up into the functions of the skin and then the structural changes in the skin as time goes by. So in terms of skin function, we know that as we age, it doesn't repair as well. It doesn't modulate kind of the immune response as it used to. It doesn't regulate the normal pigment cells as well as it used to. And then if we talk about how it changes in terms of structure, do you want to?
Yeah, so there's a gradual decline in things like collagen, hyaluronic acid, elastin, which basically means that your skin doesn't have as much bounce, it doesn't have as much structure and form, and it loses its sort of turgor as such. And that gradually happens, and there are various different life points in which that's accelerated. But yeah, that's how I'd probably describe that.
And with the loss of these like essential proteins and substances in the skin, that's when you start seeing things like that wrinkling, which most people kind of associate with aging, as well as other changes to the visible eye too.
So what would you say is aging mostly driven by genetics or lifestyle? What
It's a good point.
So essentially there's what we call intrinsic aging, and that's kind of inevitable. That's our genetics and it's the passage of time. Then you have extrinsic aging, which is external factors, which a lot of the time we can largely influence, and that is lifestyle, environmental stress, etc.
And there's loads of interesting studies with identical twins that they've got the same genetics, but then they've lived different lifestyles, and one is often sort of significantly more photo-aged or sort of looks older than the other. So things like sun exposure, pollution, smoking, stress is another good one.
So essentially it's a mix of everything, but we kind of separate it intrinsic and extrinsic.
So what causes skin to age faster? What would you say?
So they say 70 to 80% is due to UV damage. We know when UV hits the skin, it causes various chemical reactions with the skin that release things like free radicals, which are kind of these excited particles which damage a lot of the structures in the skin cells. And over time, these successive hits cause sort of the skin to
more
kind of
damage.
age.
So what's the first signs of skin aging?
So, I mean, the first things that people might start to notice are lines that appear during expression. Tends to be the lines that you get around your eyes, potentially some around the forehead, potentially sort of maybe a bit rougher. Your complexion isn't quite as even. They're quite early signs of aging.
And another sort of sign which is often present is things like those broken blood vessels around the nose and on other areas of the face. And that's usually a result of that sort of progressive collagen loss. So those kind of vessels become more visible.
Okay. So what's the signs that people worry too much about? So for example, if they do have, the lines on their eyes, what do people panic about the most?
Probably anecdotally, what people panic about the most is that collagen loss that you get when things start to drop. And I think that the visible dropping of somebody's face is often quite distressing.
And
more so than anything else.
I suppose the obvious thing is things like wrinkles, which obviously people think about quite a lot. But there's other things as well that are signs of aging. So like uneven skin tone, abnormal pigmentation, as well, which may sort of concern people. And yeah, I suppose make them sort of panic when they start noticing it.
Okay. So one thing we hear a lot about is, preventing something from happening rather than correcting it. We have products like the Filorga's NCF Revitalize Serum, and that's designed to support skin quality, hydration, and radiance.
I mean, it's something that we've both tried, really like it. And I think it sort of just speaks to the importance of taking a skin health first approach to anything and looking after your skin right from the get-go, because actually it's, like you say, it's the prevention is often far better than having to treat something further down the line.
And in terms of this specific product, we know one of the key challenges in skincare is actually the function of the skin is to act as a barrier, and it's been formulated in such a way that it can actually get through the skin barrier and deliver essential kind of compounds and actives to the layers of the skin where it'd be most receptive.
So we like it.
Nice. So the serum combines ingredients like hyaluronic acid, amino acids, and vitamins. Obviously, from what you mentioned, that's your go-to, and that's very important for preventing skin aging. Yeah, the Filorga NCF Revitalize Serum is something that is very popular, and a lot of people are using it because of the benefits and the ingredients. Now that we understand skin aging, let's talk about preventing it. If there's one thing dermatologists seem to agree on, it's sunscreen. So we hear all the time that SPF is one of the most important anti-aging ingredients. Why does it make such a difference?
So effectively, what SPF is doing, and what we want is the SPF to block UVA as well as UVB, because it's the UVA that causes and accelerates what's called photoaging. So that's the aging caused by UV damage. So by preventing that with a good quality SPF, that is absolutely paramount. Aside from the aging, it's in terms of preventing skin cancers, that's also really, really important.
Yeah, I think the concept that's really important to understand is that we have UVA, which is their aging rays, and that's present all throughout the year, no matter how hot it is outside. And that can penetrate through windows, through cars, and it's the main reason why people need to be applying their SPF daily, because they're still going to get that UVA hit, which will cause these sorts of damaging skin changes in terms of aging. And that's something that we find in clinic people don't really know about.
Yeah, often surprises people, doesn't it, that UVA travels through windows. It's important to having your SPF on all the time.
Yeah, I mean that's basically how I used to think. And with the weather in London being so up and down, and 1 minute it's rainy, 1 minute sunny, I was always under the impression that I don't need to wear SPF every day. So it's really interesting. And there's a lot of people.
Yeah, we see it all the time in our clinic, and it's we're always educating people on, and it's a strange concept to really understand, to be honest.
Yeah. I think historically we've sort of thought of it as a step that you add in when you're on holiday, or going to a sunny place, but it isn't. It's a daily, multi times of the day even part of your routine.
So if someone is investing in expensive skincare ingredients, but they're not wearing SPF every day, what is there any point in that, or?
It's really hard. So once again, this is a problem we see all the time in clinic, is if you're sunbathing, going on holidays, not protecting their skin, and then wanting to spend sort of hundreds, thousands of pounds on injectable sort of anti-aging interventions, and they're actually missing out on this key step, which is fairly cheap, has decades and decades of high quality evidence. And to us, it just seems like a no-brainer if you're wanting to spend a lot of money on things like Botox, but not doing SPF. So yeah, I think they are making things hard for themselves in some area.
There's a single biggest change that you can make to prevent aging, really.
Yeah. Just so people understand, what damage is actually happening beneath the surface when you don't wear SPF every day?
So it's, as they say, it's the sort of the two different types of UV damage. So it's UVA is causing sort of degradation of your collagen levels. It's sort of accelerating that photoaging process.
And it's the UV that can get deepest into the deepest layer of the skin, whereas the UVB, which is responsible for sunburn, only really tackles the top layer of the skin. So it's really understanding that different wavelengths of the UV spectrum can target different depths in the skin.
For sure.
Okay. So one of the biggest debates in skincare is, I believe, mineral versus chemical sunscreen filters, right?
Yes.
So what is the difference between mineral and chemical filters?
So first and first, all these are chemicals. They're just separated into mineral and chemical historically, but they're all chemicals, etc. We hear a lot of people talk about natural skincare and things like that, but in reality, everything is a chemical. So traditionally there was the mineral filters, which were zinc oxide or titanium, and they kind of sit on the surface of the skin, absorb some of that UV energy and reflect it off, protecting the skin cells. Whereas some of the chemical filters...
the chemical filters effectively convert some of that UV energy into small amounts of heat. Actually, a lot of the evidence is that is exactly how mineral SPFs work too. I think it's an old argument about reflectivity. However, I think it's mineral for a lot of people doesn't react on the skin. It sits there and it's for people with sensitive skin, it's often a bit better.
Yeah, so from our clinical practice, we find that people with rosacea, very sensitive skin, people that have had lasers or cosmetic work, their skin usually tolerates a mineral SPF better than a chemical. But it's personal preference and it's what people will tolerate and use every day, which is the really important message.
So many consumers have concerns about chemical filters after things they've read online, right? So how much of that is evidence-based and how much of it is misinformation?
So it's really interesting because we've been talking about this quite a lot recently, and what this all comes down from is basically there was a trial done about a decade or so ago, maybe even longer, in the States, where people effectively bought lots and lots and lots of a chemical sun cream and a small amount was absorbed into the blood.
So the FDA was looking at a chemical filter called benzene, which is actually a filter that's not really used in Europe at all. And they were putting super high dose of this filter on the skin. And as a result of that, small parts was absorbed. That was the only finding. It did not correlate to any kind of damage or risk for any associated condition, and it's not even a filter that is used in Europe. So essentially it is misinformation and kind of social media kind of hysteria. And clearly a lot of these things are very clickbait, and obviously we know that kind of gets traction in terms of algorithms and things. So it's misinformation.
Are there certain skin types that would work better with the filters, or what? How does it?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got really sensitive skin. My skin goes red very easily, and that's why I use a mineral SPF. So I actually use the Filorga the SPF myself, because my skin doesn't react to it. It sits really nicely.
We've tried lots of SPFs for you, and it's just cause stinging, and I've been able to tolerate them. But Dr. Andrewston is particularly sensitive, but it's tolerated the Filorga one really well. But in answer to your question, the one really important kind of condition where I would really say go for a mineral sunscreen is people with pigmentation, whether that's melasma, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, because actually we know that the melanocytes are very sensitive to blue light as well, and chemical sunscreens don't cover that part of the UV spectrum, whereas mineral sunscreens will block out that blue light, which can cause flares of these conditions that cause pigmentation in the skin. So that's really important, and that's one of the instances I say to patients where they really need to be looking at mineral sunscreens.
So zinc oxide, I hear that that's the gold standard of sunscreens. Why?
I think it's the one it's been around for a long time. It's to do with the particle size, so zinc is quite large. It effectively is active straight away as well, so it doesn't need to sort of sit on your skin for a while and become activated. So I think that's why it's more commonly used.
Yeah, it's well tolerated, as we said, for people with sensitive skin. A lot of chemical filters have to take a while to activate and form that kind of film on the skin to keep the skin safe, whereas it's obviously zinc oxide is active straight away.
Okay. So we're often seeing more SPF products include ingredients such as ceramides, antioxidants, and centella acetica. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Are sunscreens becoming skincare products in their own right?
Yeah, and they should be, because it's a daily step. It's something that's going to be sitting on your skin every day. If we can combine it with other ingredients that work well with it, why not? It just seems silly to not do that.
Yeah, and I think it's really important in terms of efficiency. Everyone is quite busy, so if you can use multiple ingredients in one product, that's just sort of a kind of no-brainer. It saves time, and actually, when they're formulated together, they usually sit better on the skin rather than having lots of individual steps, in which sometimes it can lead to product piling. So I think it's really great that a lot of these sunscreens now are having the antioxidant protection and are having the barrier support ingredients as well.
That really highlights why SPF is often considered the foundation of any healthy aging skin routine. It's not just about treating the signs of aging once they appear. It's about helping prevent the damage that contributes to them in the first place. Filorga's Daily Repair Mineral UV50 combines mineral UV fillers with the ingredients such as centella, acetica, and ceramides to help protect and support the skin at the same time.
If you think of the skin as like bricks and mortar, ceramides are like the mortar that hold your skin cells together. So it acts as a really barrier supporting ingredient, which is obviously an important factor in a cream that you're putting on your face every day. We think about the antioxidant nature of the other ingredients as well. And so combining all that into a single step is a really clever move, I think.
And obviously the soothing ingredients as well. So any sort of reactivity in the skin, obviously it'll be great to address that as well. So redness, etc.
So that sun cream has a really interesting tint.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons that actually we're so keen to come on and talk about this, because I actually used this product as my daily SPF.
So Andy has rosacea-prone skin. We tried lots and lots of things, and it just kept making the skin red, more flushed, more sensitive. And we decided just to strip everything back, stop a lot of the skincare products we were using, and now he's just using this. So
basically. So I mean, effectively, this. Because just for if you don't know, so rosacea is sort of skin that flushes. It's very reactive. My skin does not react to this at all. It's that green tint, basically, sort of in terms of the I don't know if you can see that, but it's almost like a lime green, I'd say. But that counterbalances the red in your skin, so it almost rather than having like a white cast or anything like that, it basically just neutralizes the redness on my skin, and it's and it sort of sinks in absolutely beautifully.
The centella will be really soothing to that kind of sort of irritation, and clearly the ceramides will help with that kind of supporting the skin barrier, which we know is somewhat defective as well in rosacea.
So I don't know if you can see it, it's actually just sinks in really nicely.
Yeah. Also, some people avoid sunscreen altogether because of the ingredients. What would you say to those individuals?
So, I mean, first of all, there's decades and decades of evidence of most ingredients in the skincare world. It's all gone through various different safety trials. We know that these ingredients are safe to use on skin. So there shouldn't be any concern about that at all. It's the social media world going a bit haywire as usual.
But I think the concerning thing is where there is misinformation like that. People that have kids and things like that then tend to not put SPF on their children, and it's actually quite dangerous. Obviously, we're thinking a lot about skin aging in terms of wrinkles, pigmentation, etc. But obviously, melanoma is very serious. Other forms of skin cancer are very serious, and it's obviously the keys to kind of reducing the risk of that.
So do you tend to recommend mineral or chemical filtered sunscreens to your patients?
So generally, we tend to recommend something that suits their skin type.
Mhm.
So the key is that it needs to cover both UVA and UVB. So in terms of UVB, this is an SPF 50, but the PA rating for UVA is plus, which is very, very high.
And the instance I would recommend mineral over chemical is very sensitive to skin. And to discuss if they've had a procedure such as lasers, things like mineral SPFs tend to sit better, or people that have prone to pigmentation or melasma, and they need to cover blue light as well, which is what the mineral SPFs cover, which the chemicals don't cover as well. But for many people, it's what they're going to wear every single day.
So can you explain the difference between chemical sunscreens and
So it's a little bit arbitrary, to be perfectly honest, because everything is a chemical. The old classification really of mineral is an organic product, so something that's something like zinc, which is almost found naturally, but actually we used to think of them working slightly differently in that they reflected UV, but that isn't really how they work. We know that it basically they absorb it.
Okay. And we know in terms of functioning that chemical sunscreens need to form that kind of film, and that can take sort of up to 20 minutes, whereas things like mineral sunscreens, they're active straight away in terms of how they kind of sit on the skin and block that UV spectrum. But I think there's quite a lot of nuance in terms of the technologies now, and it's not as clear cut as we used to think about their mechanisms.
So consumers are becoming more ingredient aware than ever. Many people are actively seeking out ingredients like hyaluronic acids, peptides, and antioxidants. When it comes to healthy skin aging, how important are ingredients in skincare?
I think it's really important that people are aware of what they are putting on their face, what's interacting with each other, what their specific skin type needs, and at what concentration. So I think it is really right that people are starting to pay more attention to it.
Yeah, and I think education is important. So obviously there's ingredients and actives, but it's really important to really understand why these actives are important and why using them consistently in a skincare regime will deliver results long-term in terms of healthy skin aging.
We hear a lot about peptides. What role does it play in aging skin?
So, I mean, a peptide is a signaling molecule. So it's a chain of amino acids that is doing something. So let's say it causes a specific cell activity to take place. In medicine, as GPs, we use them there are lots of different peptides that have been used for a long period of time. But in the world of skincare, I think it's an emerging field. I think there's lots of promise with it. There's certainly some peptides that have pretty good evidence now. So I think it definitely seems to be the forefront of where the skincare world is going.
Yeah, and I suppose essentially acting as signaling molecules to get these fibroblasts in the skin to produce more of the collagen and elastin, which we know is diminishing with the passage of time and with external factors as well.
Yeah.
So there's certainly one to look out for.
What's one ingredient that you think deserves more attention?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think that for me, antioxidants are really, really, really important. And as city dwellers, we have lots of oxidative stress from pollution around. So having something in your skincare that acts as an antioxidant to sort of mop up some of that is really, really important. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. So yeah, good antioxidant protection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many consumers look for a single hero ingredient. Is skincare actually more effective when ingredients work together?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think there has been kind of the thought of skin cycling, where you're using different actives on different nights to really get the best out of each ingredient. But to have them all in kind of one formula or in two formulas is actually a lot better, because many of these do work synergistically together for skin health. So wouldn't say there's a single hero ingredient, but many that are really good working together and have lots and lots of evidence for their efficacy.
And there's no reason why one, if you're using one ingredient, you can't use another. They're all acting in different pathways. There's different chemical signals being used. As long as they don't interact with each other on a surface level, there's absolutely no evidence that you should be using one ingredient at a time.
Antioxidants are often described as helping to defend the skin. What are they protecting us from?
So first things first, we have antioxidants in our skin from birth, and over time, the levels of antioxidants in the skin deplete. Antioxidants are really important for scavenging what we call free radicals, which are these kind of charged electrons which damage cellular structures and lead to kind of cell death. So actually, once we're kind of reaching that point where we are aging, it's really important to try and replenish some of these antioxidants externally to kind of help that kind of skin defense.
So hyaluronic acid seems to be everywhere. Why has it become so important?
So I think it's used in lots of different modalities. So it's used as on the skin, in serums and in moisturizers, and that's because it's a humectant, which means it draws in water. But it's also used in sort of the beauty and aesthetics world in lots of other ways. It's an injectable treatment. It's used as dermal filler. So it's a really versatile ingredient, and it can be in long chains, short chains, cross-linked, uncross-linked. It's many uses.
And we do know that it is important in sort of cell signaling in the skin as well, and it can stimulate things like collagen and elastin when it's in the right size. So yeah, it does a lot essentially.
So we often hear about amino acids and vitamins in skincare. Mm-hmm. What roles do these ingredients play in maintaining the health of the skin?
So we're already talking about skin barrier here. So amino acids are basically the building blocks of proteins. And so by having enough of those building blocks available to support a healthy skin barrier, is obviously, common sense would suggest that's a really useful thing to have and for the body to have access to.
And in the dermis, where all the fibroblasts are, which are synthesizing the collagen and elastin, which we spoke about, they need that kind of prime environment to kind of function properly. So actually providing vitamins into that layer of the skin is really important for fueling their activity. So yes, very important in terms of healthy skin.
Okay, so Philoga's NCF range follows that same philosophy, combining hyaluronic acid, peptides, and amino acids. Obviously, it has vitamins, antioxidants to help target multiple signs of aging all at the same time. Would you say that multi-action formulas like this reflect the direction modern skincare is moving in?
I think so. I think the simplicity of having one, and trying to pretend that one specific ingredient's going to do absolute wonders is probably just not correct. So targeting lots of different pathways at the same time is really how I would see things moving in the future.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when you see on TikTok, you see influencers using sort of 10 steps in their skincare regime, but actually a lot of these products from different brands, they're not integrating with one another. They're just sitting on top of the skin, causing irritation. Yeah. So products like these, where there is obviously being formulated, so there's vectors that can deliver all these actives at once to the dermis to have a biological effect, is certainly the way skincare is going. I think it's really important that most people realize that actually having a consistent skincare regime and not chopping and changing it with products as well is really important to get those results. So I think in terms of efficiency and sort of, I guess, compliance, I think it's great.
And like you're saying, so, having lots of different ingredients, it's about the delivery of those ingredients. So what Philoga has managed to do is to create a vector to deliver them in, which is impressive. So
Dr. Andy and Dr. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. It's been a really interesting discussion and something that we're quite passionate about. And
thank you.
I hope people found it helpful.
Thank you so much. And I hope that we can hopefully make a difference in people's approach to skincare, and people have learned a little bit more about healthy aging skin and what to look out for And of course, SPF is very, very important. Thank you.